even without a no nationwide NRC, the National Population Register is essentially a large database about everyone in the country. Even though one can say NPR doesn't have the caste data, by linking Aadhaar, by allowing other databases to be linked, you're essentially building one more large database which will have all of your personal details, and that could be damaging to vulnerable groups, whether it's minorities, whether it's Dalits, tribals. The requirement for the National Population Register is because India doesn't has a robust civil registration system, and we are prone geopolitically to attacks, whether it's wars or terrorist attacks. And the first time it was proposed was post the Kargil War of 2003, when the Kargil War Review Committee realized that they couldn't identify Pakistani army men entering India in civilian clothes. And it started getting traction, or it was rather implemented post the Bombay attacks of 26/11, when Pakistani terrorists entered India posing as Indian fishermen and hijacking a fishing trawler. So essentially it comes from a very national security idea of identifying everyone in the country so that we keep everyone safe. So the Aadhaar project and the NPR project are very similar. In fact, both of them have been implemented simultaneously. If you look at the Cabinet Committee on UID, which integrated both of them, they recognized that both of them were similar, but what essentially both of them did is they used two different approaches. The NPR project used verification because it was conducted by the MHA, while in case of the Aadhaar project, it was more of one could just go give their details and an Aadhaar would be made. There was not enough verification which was done because it was being done by the private sector. So what essentially is happening right now is you're trying to verify everyone whose data was already collected part of the Aadhaar project. The Aadhaar ID is not a citizenship ID. Well, it's a unique ID. The NPR IDs, or rather the multipurpose national identity cards, which were initially issued under the NPR, were smart cards. Okay, and they were issued to citizens. Okay, they were not issued to any foreign residents. At the same time, one must understand that over the Aadhaar project growing, the NPR IDs were started becoming Aadhaar IDs. Even though the Registrar General of Registrar General of India was doing it, they started issuing Aadhaar numbers instead of the multipurpose national identity cards. Eventually, all of this has been mixed. There's not much of a difference there, except the National Population Register is a database and Aadhaar is an ID card. So the NPR is similar to Census. The census is a very age-old exercise. It started in 1872 for the first time in India. We've been carrying it out under the Census Act of 1948. What NPR on the other hand is, it's sort of a real-time population database, right? So it's killing the census. So it's taking over census because census is carried out for every 10 years. So what you will potentially see from now is everything will be linked to create something called the real-time census, which is essentially the National Population Register. But at the same time, there are advantages and disadvantages of it. The advantage is you don't have to do it every 10 years. It's there always because you're linking everything to it. The disadvantages to it is the amount of power that someone inside the Ministry of Home Affairs gets over it. The NPR project is the mother database for the National Register of Citizens. This has been stated multiple times by the Home Minister himself and the other ministers of state in the past in Parliament. So to get a National Register of Citizens, you must have a National Population Register, and in that you filter who are citizens and who are residents who have immigrated to India, or who are foreigners who are working with work visas. So you would need the NPR to get the NRC. even without a no nationwide NRC, the National Population Register is essentially a large database about everyone in the country and where they are from, and it can help anyone with access to this data understand a lot of geopolitical dynamics in the state. So you will know where people are living, who they are, what caste they are. And it's important to understand because even though one can say NPR doesn't have the caste data, by linking Aadhaar, by allowing other databases to be linked, you're essentially building one more large database which will have all of your personal details, and that could be damaging to vulnerable groups, whether it's minorities, whether it's Dalits, tribals. We don't know how this data is going to be used, and existence of these larger databases are problematic, and we have seen that happen in Nazi Germany. We have seen that happen with apartheid, where identity cards were used to discriminate people. So we don't know how it's going to affect, but the information about an entire population at this scale would be really problematic.